speciesism, and speciesism, and speciesism, be kind to the animals, and veganphobia, and veganphobia, and veganphobia, be kind to the activists. Dance if you're vegan, hands up if you're vegan. Think you can't do it? Try it, you can. Yeah!
Hello students, and especially to you, Anna Oop. Anna Oop, for those of you who don't know, is somebody who has a channel with over 2 million followers. Somebody who is afraid of showing their identity. So she hides behind this little cartoon image. We don't know if she's 55 years old and 200 pounds. We don't know anything about her. But she has this little baby voice and she has this little cartoon of this youngish looking person. And what she does is she attacks all kinds of people, and especially vegans, especially animal defenders. But what's interesting is she's been following my channel. She clearly watches my content. She's a regular subscriber. And so eventually, I think she's been getting her 100 clicks. It takes 100 clicks to become vegan, and she is getting them. Because in her last video, she let it slip that she would be vegan if I was nicer. So I've invited Anna Oop here. Thank you for being here, Anna, in this classroom. And you're going to be learning today about fallacies, about the reasons, the crazy things that you say, among others, that are your reasons for not being vegan. So we're going to learn how they make no sense at all. All of the standard stuff like bacon, though. Bacon tastes so good. And what about the lions? And all of these things. So I'm going to be reviewing an assignment by a young lady, and you guys are all welcome. Anna Oop, thank you for being here, and hopefully by the end you will see that veganism makes perfect sense and you will become vegan because you will have no more excuse for the animal abuse that you take part in. Let's be vegan from now on. Stop paying for murder from now on. Let's be kind to everyone. Let's be vegan from now on. Yes, thank you for being here. Happy Vegan Declaration Day to those of you who have decided that this is the day that you are finally going to stop paying for animal exploitation. Today we have a presentation by somebody who calls herself Ovidian.art. Let's have a listen to what she has to say. You ready, Anna Oop? Here we go.
I thought that I would compile a list of the most common fallacious arguments that you tend to encounter as an animal rights activist or even just as a vegan.
Oh.
It's really quite astonishing how often faulty argumentation is used to attack veganism and to defend animal exploitation. I'm sure that most everybody is quite familiar with these already, but it never hurts to brush up. A logical fallacy is an error in reasoning that results in a defective argument. Most of us are not born innately rational, and vegans are just as capable of fallacious reasoning as anybody else.
What?
So,
what? We're not born rational? We're capable of fallacious reasoning? Check mark! Yeah, she's absolutely right. Give her a check mark for that. I like this presentation so far. It's different. It's not all bells and whistles and music. It's very kind of calm, like the black and white look. So give her a few check marks for this presentation so far. Seems like it's going in a linear direction. Let's keep listening. Pay attention, guys. You might need this video in the future.
So it's helpful to be able to recognize these so that you can refute them, and also to avoid making the same mistakes yourself.
Vegans are annoying and militant. They just want to feel better than other people.
Oh, we get this all the time, don't you? Hey, vegans, we get this all the time. Oh, you just want to feel superior. Actually, we don't want to feel superior. That's why we're vegan, because we don't feel superior. We don't feel superior to all of the other animals. But let's listen to what she has to say.
An ad hom is committed when the arguer attacks the character or some other facet of their opponent rather than the actual argument. The identity of the person holding the vegan position is actually not even relevant. An individual doesn't even have to be a vegan to make a pro-vegan or pro-animal rights argument.
Yes, exactly. You don't have to be vegan to make a pro-vegan argument. Sometimes you're just giving facts. You don't have to necessarily be vegan yet. This goes for you too, Anna Oop. Just because you're not vegan yet doesn't mean you can still encourage your audience to eat animals and to exploit them. You can absolutely spread the facts about veganism, that it's best for the environment, it's great for human health, and that the animals don't deserve to suffer. Right?
Lions though.
Appeal to nature, also known as the naturalistic fallacy. This is the go-to defense of carnism. The idea that something is good or right by virtue of the fact that it occurs in nature. We don't have to look very far to know that this is a ridiculous idea. The opposite of the naturalistic fallacy is the moralistic fallacy, and it's not that uncommon to see vegans committing this one.
Harming animals is wrong. Therefore, eating animals has detrimental effects on human health.
Ah, interesting. Harming animals is wrong, therefore eating animals has detrimental effects on human health. Not necessarily true. That's a very good point she's making. Veganism is actually not about health. It's about the animals.
The moralistic fallacy assumes that because an aspect of nature has unpleasant consequences, it can't exist. While these statements might be true independently, one does not logically follow from the other, and therefore it's a bad argument.
Right. Like, class 1 carcinogens include processed meats, for example, but it doesn't necessarily mean that an Inuit up north who is eating fish because they have to is going to be unhealthy.
Most people are fine with eating animals. Therefore, eating animals is ethical.
The appeal to popularity argues that an idea is true simply because it is widely held or practiced. But many ideas and practices that were once widely accepted as being true and correct are no longer accepted.
If we don't eat the cows...
Exactly. Can you think of some examples? Slavery? Slavery used to be widely accepted, but we know that that's wrong.
They will overpopulate and take over the world.
False dilemma, or bifurcation fallacy. The arguer presents only two options or outcomes for the presented idea when in fact there are multiple.
Right, and it doesn't make any sense that cows are going to take over the world because we are actually breeding them into existence in the first place. Same as chickens and same as pigs. There are lots of different animals who would not even exist in nature right now were it not for us, who are consistently hoarding them and isolating them and masturbating them to take the sperm, forcing that sperm into the females and forcing this cycle of violence and abuse to go on. The best thing that we can do is to become vegan and stop all of that animal abuse. And it can be done easily. When you're shopping, simply put veggies, fruits, nuts, and seeds in your shopping cart because peace begins on your plate. So open up your heart to the animals.
Bacon, though.
Appeal to pleasure, or as I like to call it, the appeal to bacon. Arguing that something is ethically justifiable simply because it feels good to the arguer. This is not usually a genuine attempt at argument, but rather a troll or a cheap attempt at inciting an emotional response.
I used to think that, but I think that actually people are really, some of them actually believe that that's a good argument. Oh, but bacon tastes so good, therefore I just want to eat it. I mean, I used to think it was just 10-year-olds who would write that, and then sometimes I would follow up and see that there are actually like 40-year-olds who would write things like that. So I don't know, but I think, in general, I think you're right, I guess.
And I would not give them the satisfaction.
Don't give them the satisfaction.
Ancestors, though. Thousands of years ago.
Appeal to tradition. The arguer asserts that an idea being a tradition or a practice for a long time makes it true and correct. However, this has nothing at all to do with the ethical implications of the idea or the practice, because the appeal to tradition could be used to defend any number of institutions which most people find objectionable nowadays, like slavery or child marriage.
Yes, exactly. Good job. Check mark for that. So far, Ovidian Art, you are doing great. This is a really very interesting presentation. You still paying attention, Anna Oop? Yeah? Good job.
There are bigger problems in the world than some stupid animals getting killed.
Oh.
Why aren't you protesting for homeless vets?
Like as if you can't care about more than one thing at a time.
The appeal to relative privation. Other problems are quite irrelevant to the argument at hand. Nothing about the ethics of killing and eating animals hinges upon the welfare of inner-city children or nuclear disarmament.
If everyone stops eating animals, what will happen to farmers and slaughterhouse workers?
Appeal to consequences. The argument that an idea is true or false because of the consequences of it being undesirable or desirable. The practical consequences of ending animal exploitation has no bearing on whether or not animal agriculture itself is moral or ethical.
This celebrity says that humans need animal protein to be healthy, so therefore, Veganism is stupid and wrong.
Ooh, should we always listen to celebrities? How many celebrities said that they were going to be vegan and then 2 weeks later they decided not to? You know, of course, there are some great celebrities who are vegan and who are truly ethically vegan and have been vegan for many, many years, such as Joaquin Phoenix, for example, the actor who played in that movie, The Joker. Yeah, there's a lot, and he actually goes to different demonstrations, and he goes to the pigs, the trucks as they are going to slaughter. He stands there, he watches them, he is in sympathy with them, he actually really cares. But people who are sometimes famous and who say they're going to be vegan because they want to get healthy, those ones you got to be really careful with. So if a celebrity says, whatever celebrities say, you have to always just think, okay, just because that person is famous doesn't mean that what they're doing is right. We can think of some examples. SS Sniper Wolf, for example. She is somebody you would call a celebrity. She has 30 million followers. But what she is doing is absolutely morally wrong, encouraging people to keep hurting animals. And somebody like Call Me Chris, who also made fun of me, that vegan teacher, when I used a non-vegan marker, for example. These are celebrities, and just because they say something doesn't make it necessarily right. And by the way, if you are interested in finding some vegan markers, go ahead and Google them. It's a very hard thing to find, actually. If anybody is rich out there or who knows people who are interested in being entrepreneurs, we need more vegan markers available to us. That's just an aside, because it's hard to find them. But you can, but it's not that easy. You know, just the regular markers that children use in school, they have all the different colors, they should all, by default, be vegan. Unfortunately, they're not. Anyways, I'm digressing.
The appeal to authority. This fallacy can be tricky because there are some instances in which one would be justified in placing their trust in the opinions of experts, particularly when one is in a poor position to understand a complex issue requiring specialized knowledge. An appeal to authority fallacy, however, leverages the social prestige or popular credibility of an expert outside this person's range of competence.
Okay, so an appeal to authority means where you look up to somebody who is not necessarily an authority. Like, for example, it could be a school teacher. A school teacher tells you, oh, you should drink your milk. And the teacher doesn't actually really know what happens in the dairy industry. Or is somebody who herself or himself is addicted to cheese or whatever, addicted, I put that in quotes. And so you should not necessarily listen to somebody who is in a position of authority, because they might not actually know what they're talking about.
One can appeal to a celebrity's opinion or the fringe views of quack doctors in order to sway the naive or defend one's own unjustified prejudices. But
yeah, I'm going to give a check mark for that. You got to be careful which doctors you're listening to. When she says a quack doctor, she means somebody who doesn't necessarily have the skills to look at the research and understand what's going on, or who simply doesn't have any kind of heart for the animals, who actually thinks that even cats and dogs don't feel pain, which is insane. We all know that. We know that animals feel pain. So you got to look at things from a logical perspective.
But in these instances, one's appeals to authority misrepresent the expert consensus of those individuals generally acknowledged to be in the know.
The food chain though. The circle of life though.
Reification, or fallacy of misplaced concreteness. The arguer treats an abstraction as a concrete entity. In this instance, a human behavior is described as a fact of nature and the result of immutable universal laws.
You animal rights people want to...
Okay, check mark for that one too. These are very good. I don't know if you guys are catching these. Sometimes they go by very fast. So that's why I would encourage you to save this video and refer to it in the future if you ever need to use these arguments or learn from them.
Just to let pigs drive cars.
The straw man. Misrepresenting an argument to make it look ridiculous and thus easy to destroy.
I bet that these obnoxious vegans protesting the circus drove to the protests in cars with leather seats.
Tu quo qui. The arguer asserts that their opponent has behaved in some way that is inconsistent with their argument. But the alleged hypocrisy of the person making the argument has no bearing on the veracity of the argument itself.
Exactly. Whatever the person is doing personally does not have any bearing. The argument can still stand for itself.
The most absurd example of this is the perennial favorite,
Plants feel pain too though.
which, even if it was somehow the case, would not therefore make causing pain to animals ethical.
Plants don't feel pain, they don't have a brain, they don't have a nervous system, so it's okay to bite into them. You have a heart, you know where to start. Share this song and be vegan from now on.
Exactly. Check mark for that. Good job. Whether plants feel pain or not has nothing to do with why we would want to go out and hurt an animal. Why would you think, okay, well, these plants feel pain, therefore I'm going to go out and slit the throat of this pig, chicken, cow, turkey, or lamb? It doesn't make any sense. I just noticed that Anna Oop is actually still here paying attention. That is great. Hey, Anna, have you seen my mug, by the way? Look. Cow's milk is for baby cows. And you're not a baby cow. So just another reminder, you should be buying oat milk and soy milk from now on. All right? Thanks for hanging out. Really happy you're still here.
I am against factory farming, but veganism is too extreme. A reasonable solution is to raise and kill the animals humanely.
The appeal to moderation, also known as the false compromise or the golden mean fallacy. While it is often the case that the truth lies between two extremes, it is not always the case.
Farm workers are exploited to produce fruits and vegetables as well, so veganism is pointless.
Nirvana fallacy, or the perfect solution fallacy. The arguer rejects an imperfect but realistic solution because it is inferior to an idealized solution.
My neighbor went vegan and all her hair fell out.
It's not possible that people go bald without being vegan. Is that it? Like there's no bald people around who actually eat meat.
And then she died.
Anecdotal and post hoc ergo propter hoc. A personal anecdote doesn't establish that this is a common occurrence or a necessary outcome. Just because one event occurred first, it doesn't necessarily mean that it caused the latter event to happen.
That's right. Just because one thing happened doesn't mean that that caused the next thing to happen. People often say things like, oh, you're vegan and look how skinny you are. Therefore, veganism makes you skinny. No, it doesn't. There's plenty of people who are skinny, anorexic people who still eat meat. And there are plenty of large people who don't eat meat, who do eat meat. One has nothing to do with the other.
Tribes though. Abortion though.
The red herring. A red herring is a diversion of the argument to avoid discussing the actual matter at hand. The lifestyles of hypothetical tribes living in remote areas and the ethics of abortion have a tenuous connection at best to the actual argument being made. And
people often ask me how I feel about abortion. And my response to that is, what does that have to do with the topic at hand, which is the animals? I'm talking about defending the defenseless, trying to end a holocaust that's going on right now. Billions of animals who are being pushed into slaughterhouses after a lifetime of suffering on factory farms. That's what I'm talking about. My opinion about abortion has nothing to do with anything.
this is by no means an exhaustive list of every single logical fallacy, but the most common ones that you are likely to see. Have you heard any other particularly stupid arguments that I haven't listed here? If so, I would love to hear them.
Cool. Thanks for your presentation. All right. Thank you. So let's see what we got here. I actually don't have any check marks. Did you guys put any X's? Only check marks. That's all I have. So I think, good job. Good work. I think I'm going to give her an A on this assignment. I don't see anything that she did wrong. I think that she explained things really well. Sometimes it was a little bit of a dry presentation. Like I said, not a whole lot of music and bells and whistles, but that's okay. It's good to have different types of presentations, and this is one that you can refer to in the future. So I want to thank you so much for this presentation, and I hope to see more from you in the future. I don't know what your actual name is, but Ovidian Art, you got an A+ on this assignment. Thank you for being here. To those of you who have found some interest in this video and in this channel, I invite you to subscribe, press the notification bell, and help all of us get the animals out of hell. Coming up on screen are going to be a bunch of other videos. Have a look at them. Be curious. I've done all kinds of videos about different animal rights activists, about people who are really mean to animals. I've done videos where I'm bawling my eyes out because I'm watching animals and what they're going through. And I've done videos, for example, where I talk about a group called What Broke Vegans Eat. And I'm looking at different vegan chefs, all kinds of stuff in the archives. Way more than 1,000 videos. So if you're curious, go click around. Find out what's going on, and thanks again for being vegan from now on. Love you guys, and give yourself a big hug because I know you are trying. I know it is not always easy what I'm telling you to do to change your entire life upside down, but you can absolutely do it, and I'm so proud of those of you who are on the right path. Thanks for being here. See you all in the next video. Bye!
Let's follow that vegan teacher on YouTube right now. Let's